So this is a story about Neville Goddard. And basically, Neville wanted to be with a different woman, but he was married, and his wife wouldn't give him a divorce, so he wasn't too sure how he would get out of that situation. And this is, around the 1940s, and it was in New York. So it was unheard of. So he was in a situation that he couldn't get out of. But his mentor, Abdullah, taught him all about manifesting, and he realized and he knew that every time he went to bed at night, just before you're falling asleep, you take what you want and visualize it into the drift. So you're thinking about it as you fall asleep. And that's what he taught. So what he would do every night is he would fall asleep and he would visualize being with the woman that he wanted to be with. And within a few weeks, his wife did an act that she'd never done before. She actually stole in a shop and she was caught. Because of this act of her stealing, Neville Goddard was able to divorce his wife and be with the woman that he wanted to be with. And then he went on to have children with her, or a child, and he lived happily ever after. Now, on a lot of groups and a lot of forums online, you sometimes read people say that's really, really bad that Neville Goddard affected his wife's free will like that. That's not the case. If Neville was around today and was alive, he would understand quantum physics and quantum mechanics and metaphysics, and he would join the dots. And what it is because we live in a multi-dimensional reality, and because creation is complete, there is an infinite amount of versions of you, there is an infinite amount of versions of everyone, and there is an infinite amount of versions of every probability. So every time you make a decision, it branches off. That's the movie Sliding Doors. But your consciousness can only ever embody one version. So what Neville was doing is every night he was falling asleep, when he woke up in the morning, he'd literally quantum leaped his consciousness into an ever so slightly different version of reality than the one yesterday. And over the space of a week or so, his consciousness kept leaping, kept jumping, kept leaping, kept jumping, until eventually he was embodying a version of reality where his wife stole. Now, however, for Neville Goddard's wife, who is the protagonist of her own reality, she could very well still be married to the multidimensional version of Neville Goddard. So, because reality, basically, it's you, it's everyone is you pushed out, is what Neville taught you. And it's true. You only ever see the version of people that you assume them to be. So if someone's a bully to you and you assume that they're always nasty, start assuming that they're really polite and that they've settled down and they're nice. And what will happen over time is that you'll start to witness and see that version of that person be very nice and calm and relaxed. You've not changed them just through your thoughts. You've leaped to the version of reality where they're calm. That's metaphysics, that's quantum physics, and you can go on YouTube and you can watch more videos on quantum jumping and quantum leaping. That's what Neville did. So everyone's having their own experience in this world. We've agreed to have these experiences with each other, but you will only ever see the version of people that you assume them to be. Another quick story was Neville was doing a workshop and a teacher came and she explained to Neville that there was a child that was very disruptive in the school and he was going to get expelled, and he was only young, he was only a toddler. And Neville explained to her that all she had to do was assume that he was the best pupil in the class and he was always very quiet and he didn't disrupt the rest of the school. Within a couple of weeks of this teacher doing this, the law of assumption, and falling asleep every night and visualizing when she goes to school that this child is very calm, that's exactly how that child's behavior started to change, until eventually they said to the child's parents, we're not going to expel your child anymore, he's settled down. Now again, that's the law of assumption, but the law of assumption works because she's not playing around with anyone else. She's not playing around with anyone else's free will. And where it is mind over matter, she was just changing her version of the story. But because that child may have been a little bit naughty for the first day she started and thought he's going to be trouble, So because of the law of assumption, that child started to be trouble. So once she changed her assumption about the child changed. She didn't change the child, but she did quantum leap and quantum jump into the version of reality where that child was acted based on her assumption of the child.